Sport climbing kicked off today at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games with the men's boulder semifinal and the women's speed climbing seeding round and elimination heats. 34 athletes competed vigorously today across these two disciplines, and we are just getting started. We'll talk about the athletes, competition format, scoring, and ultimately the day one results and top moments. Chapters are included in this video in case you wish to skip any of the clearly marked results sections. That is if you plan to watch the streams still and you don't want to know just yet what happened. My name is August. Welcome to August Climbing. I plan to do a video each day of these sport climbing events, so be sure to subscribe and turn on those handy notifications. I intend for these to be informational, a concise daily recap, and a place where you can come interact with other climbers who are just as psyched as you are about Olympic sport climbing. The very first event of the competition was in the men's boulder and lead category, specifically the men's boulder semifinal. We saw 20 men competing from 15 different countries. 7 of these athletes are Olympic sport climbing veterans, having competed at the Tokyo 2020 Games. This includes the reigning gold medalist Alberto Gines Lopez of Spain and Tokyo's bronze medalist Jakob Schubert of Austria. For this bouldering semifinal, the athletes were in isolation and were not allowed to see any of the routes ahead of time. There were 4 boulder problems with 5 minutes allotted to each athlete to try and complete each one. This round is exhilarating to watch because there can be up to 4 climbers who are competing at the same time, which also makes it difficult to keep track of everything. The scoring for this round is a maximum of 100 points. To achieve this perfect score, a climber would have to top all 4 boulders on the first try, that is, flash all 4. To further understand the scoring system, reaching the first zone, or kind of a checkpoint if you will, is worth 5 points, reaching the second zone is worth 10 points, and best of all, reaching the top of a boulder would earn the climber 25 points. 0.1 points are deducted for every failed attempt, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it certainly acts as a scoring mechanism to spread out the athletes' results. The scores today will be combined with the men's lead semifinal, which is set to take place on Wednesday, August 7th. And then the athletes with the top 8 scores will advance to the final. So to be clear, the results today only show the ranking after the boulder round, and thus no one has yet been eliminated from the men's boulder and lead event. And now for the day 1 men's bouldering semifinal results. Skip this chapter if you don't want to know the results yet. Well, this was an exciting semifinal round. We had 4 boulders, B1 right out of the gate, being the power boulder, requiring a high degree of strength, of course, but body positioning was key on this one as well. B2 and B3 were more of your coordination style problems, with B4, the final boulder, being a technical slab problem with a running start and ultimately a delicate traverse to the left higher off the ground. And let me tell you, these boulders were hard. A full hour and a half into this competition at the Le Bourget climbing venue, there was still not a single top of any of these boulders. I was starting to think that maybe the setters put up some problems that were just too difficult. But then the 18th competitor of the day, Jakob Schubert of Austria, came out and showed us how to do boulder number 1. He really took his time at the top to figure out the optimal body position to secure the final match. And wow, was he pumped about this, passionately celebrating in true Jakob style. Not long after, Sam Avazou of France secured the second top of the day by figuring out the tricky final sequence on boulder 4. The full crowd of 6,000 or so absolutely loved that, cheering on one of their very own French athletes. But let me tell you, the real star of the day was the youngest sport climber at these Paris 2024 Games, the 17-year-old Serato Enraku of Japan. Like I had mentioned before, these boulder problems looked extremely difficult. That is, until Serato got on them. By his second attempt on B1, he was up at the top and made the final match look easy. Everyone else struggled with this, but not Serrato. Then he came out for B2, this punchy coordination-style problem. He grabbed the only flash of the competition by sticking this dynamic, double-handed catch, a kind of compression move on these dual text holds that everyone else had slipped off of. This was the only top for B2, and definitely my top moment for today's Boulder semifinal. For B3 and B4, Serrato got close to the top on these problems, but ultimately walked away with high zones on each one. This gave him a nice lead over the other competitors, and we'll look at those scores in just a moment. The only other tops in the competition came on Boulder 4, which saw 4 tops. We mentioned Sam Abazu, but also Adam Ondra, Tomoa Narasaki, and Toby Roberts walked away with tops here as well. And anyone who did top a boulder will be entering into the lead semifinal round in a great position. So let's go ahead and look at those scores. First off, we've got Serrato and Raku with a full 69 points that puts him well ahead of the rest of the field. This is primarily thanks to having topped 2 boulder problems. Next, we have rankings 2 through 6 here. Competitors who also topped 1 boulder problem and have put themselves into a good position: Tomoa Narasaki, Toby Roberts, Sam Abazu, Adam Ondra, and Jakob Schubert. The next set to look at here is these positions 7 through 11. These competitors all finished roughly around that 34-point mark. These competitors will still, of course, have a chance to go to the final, but they will need a very strong lead performance to have that opportunity. And lastly, these athletes ranked from 12th position down to 20th position after this bouldering round will have a much harder time getting a high enough combined score to make it into the final, though nothing is impossible. We'll see what happens. Surprisingly and unfortunately, the reigning gold medalist Alberto Hines Lopez finished in 14th place after this round. These athletes will pick up the competition again on Wednesday with the men's lead semifinal. And now for the second event from sport climbing's day 1 at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. This one is pretty astonishing because just in the first day, based on how the competition format is set up, already 8 of the women's speed climbing athletes are advancing to the quarterfinals, while the other 6 athletes, their Paris 2024 journey has come to an end. We'll get into the day 1 results in a moment, but first off, 14 athletes are participating from 9 different countries. China, France, Indonesia, Poland, and the United States each have 2 athletes participating, while Spain, Italy, New Zealand, and South Africa have 1. Of these 14 athletes, only 1 has previously competed at the Tokyo 2020 Games. That is Alexandra Miroslav of Poland, who was just shy of earning an Olympic medal at Tokyo's combined event, where she took 4th place. She is also the women's speed climbing world record holder with a time of 6.24 seconds, her 8th world record in a row, which was set at the European qualifier last year. On top of this, she holds the Olympic speed climbing record with a time of 6.84 seconds in Tokyo. So Miroslav, but also Emma Hunt from the US were favorites going into this event. Today's competition saw the seeding round and elimination heats. For the seeding round, all 14 athletes climbed on the 15-meter speed wall twice, one time in lane A and the other time in lane B. The fastest of their 2 times was then used to rank the athletes from 1 all the way down to 14. This then set things up for the elimination heats, where the climbers raced head-to-head based on their rankings. First place went up against 14th place, second against 13th, third against 12th, and so on. The winner of each heat advanced to the quarterfinals. Thus, 7 athletes advanced by winning their heat, and the 8th athlete advanced by being the fastest climber to lose their heat. And now for the day 1 women's speed climbing results. Be sure to skip this chapter if you don't want to know the results just yet. The women's speed qualifications were filled with drama, technical difficulties, a new Olympic record, and yes, even a new world record. Things got off to a rocky start. After just 2 runs, it became clear that there was an issue with the timing pad at the top of lane A. Even though both competitors who raced in lane A touched the pad at the end, the clock kept going and their times did not register. After the issue was resolved, this led to individual reruns by Yafei Zhou of China and Desek Made Rita Kusuma Devi of Indonesia. Once the competition got moving again, we quickly saw the Olympic record broken. First by Zhu of China with a time of 6.54. Next by Rita Kusuma Devi with a time of 6.52. And then Hunt from the United States with a time of 6.36. But all of this was quickly forgotten when the top moment of the day arrived. Alexandra Miroslav of Poland broke her own world record with a time of 6.21 in her first run, and then a time of 6.06 in her second run. A sub-6 run is not far off for women's speed climbing. It may even happen in these Paris 2024 Olympic Games. After these initial seeding heats, things got really edge of your seat with the 7 elimination heats. Let's take a look at those results. Most of these elimination heats went about as you would expect, with the fastest athletes from the seeding round winning their elimination heat. We saw Alexandra Miroslav of Poland with another blistering time of 6.1 seconds. Then Emma Hunt also advanced from the USA in that second heat. In the third heat, Alexandra Kawucka, also of Poland, advanced. The 2 athletes from China won heats 4 and 5, Yafei Zhu and Li Zhengding. In heat 6, Desek Made Rita Kusuma Devi came out on top from Indonesia. But then in heat 7, the final heat, things got very interesting. Rajia Salsabila of Indonesia ended up falling in lane A. Leslie Adriana Romero Perez had a great run, made it up to the top in 7.26 seconds, advancing to the final by winning this heat. Up until this 7th heat, it looked like perhaps Beatrice Colli of Italy was going to advance to the final based on having the fastest time of someone who had lost their heat. However, with Rajia Salsabila of Indonesia losing her heat, that bumped her into that 8th finalist position, and she will be the one moving on to the final, having the fastest time in this competition of someone who lost their elimination heat. It was pretty cool to see Romero Perez's response as well when she won her elimination heat. You could tell she was very excited, but also that she couldn't believe she had done it. And the women's speed finals will take place in 2 days on Wednesday, August 7th. The final thing to talk about today is the commentary during this competition. I'm sure you've seen the Instagram reels with all of the highlights of the ridiculous commentary from the Tokyo 2020 sport climbing debut. This primarily had to do with a commentator who was a great commentator, but didn't know much about climbing. This time around, so far, things are sounding a lot better. On the streams through NBC/Peacock that I'm accessing here in the United States, we had Johnny Bryan, to my knowledge, the same guy who commentated during the Tokyo 2020 games. And joining Johnny was the well-known Swiss competition climber Petra Klingler. It was great to hear Johnny multiple times deferring to Petra, asking her to provide more of these climbing-related explanations, which she, of course, was very knowledgeable about. But you'll be happy to know that the word masterclass was indeed used. First in reference to Serrato and Raku during the bouldering round, and then in regards to Alexandra Miroslav's stellar performance in women's speed. Her new world record prompted the commentary, a masterclass of speed climbing in the Parisian sun. Hey, I'd say that's pretty accurate. It was quite a sunny morning and afternoon at the Les Bourget climbing venue. Oh, and Alex Honnold was in the audience as well. And I think some of you may be hearing from Matt Groom if you're streaming from Europe. I'm curious to hear about that. Let me know in the comments about your experience and what was your top moment from today's competition. Be sure to join in tomorrow as we recap the women's boulder semifinal and the men's speed qualification rounds. We are sure to be in for another exciting day. And hey, my name is August. Thank you so much for watching.